Hello everyone, welcome back again to Excel with Ugo. Today's video is all about pivot charts and it is a follow-up of my previous video on pivot tables. So if you haven't seen that video, please click on the link above and go watch it. Pivot chart is a very important tool of data analysis and it helps you understand your data in a visual way. Pivot chart is very flexible, interactive and dynamic, and it helps to convert your data into pictorial representations like this. So if you're wondering how we got here and you really want to find out how, take a seat, relax, watch this video to the end and thank me later. In today's video, you'll be learning how to insert pivot charts. You'll be learning how to insert multiple pivot charts with one data, how to use pivot charts for data analysis, how to format the pivot chart and make it suitable for presentation. You'll be learning some useful Excel shortcut keys while working with pivot charts and a lot of others. So let's get started. Before you insert your pivot chart, just as it applies to pivot tables, it also applies to pivot charts, that you must ensure you have a clean data, that your data has headers, no empty rows or columns, no subtotals, and preferably converted into a normal Excel table. If you need further details, please click on the link above to go watch my video on pivot tables. So I have my already clean data and converted into a normal Excel table. You can tell if a data is in a table when you see this table toolbar just above the design tab, and you can see that it's already named, so we can go ahead to insert our pivot chart. To do that, you click on the insert tab and in the charts group you click on pivot chart. Though you have two options there, which is the pivot chart and the pivot charts and the pivot tables, but either of them will give you the same thing because the pivot chart is associated with the pivot tables. So even if you click on the first option, which is just the pivot chart, it will come along with a pivot table. Ensure it's on the new worksheet, then click OK. So the very left hand side is where the pivot table will appear. The middle is where the pivot chart will appear, and on the right hand side is my pivot chart fields bearing my data headings. I also have the filter, the legend, the axis and the values areas that will help us build our charts. So I'll start by dragging my sales and dropping it in the values area. As you can see, this is showing me count of sales, but what I want is the sum of sales and not the count of sales. So what I would do is to change this count of sales by clicking on this drop down arrow and click on value field settings, and click on sum, click OK. Now this is showing me the sum of my total sales in my data, but as a standalone this doesn't make sense, or else it is analyzed against other data. Now let's see our total sales broken down by states. I'll just drag my states and drop it in the axis area. As you can see, these are my total sales broken down by different states, and if I don't like it here, I can drop it in the legend area, and you can see that states are represented by different colors. This time let's look at our total sales broken down by regions. So I'll just drag the regions and drop it here. Okay, this is what it looks like, but this blank is not supposed to be here. It's showing as a result of the adjustment I did on my data table, so I'll have to go correct it so as to let this blank go off. Going to my data table, what happened is that I deleted some items on this table and the table has not yet been adjusted to where the last data is. You can see this icon here signifies where the table ended, and it's covering spaces that are blank, and that is what gave rise to this blank showing up in the chart. So what I will do is to drag the table and adjust it to the end of the data to close up those blank spaces. Then go back to my chart. On the Analyze tab, I'll click on Refresh All, and the blank is gone. And if I choose to put my categories in the Legend area, what I have here now in the chart is my total sales broken down by categories in each region, with the categories represented by their different colors: the blue, red and green for furniture, office supplies and technology respectively. I also have the option of selecting multiple regions. Just click on the field button, select the number of regions you want to appear on the chart and click OK. We can also choose to move the regions to the filter area and bring down the segments to the axis area. So what we have is the total sales broken down by categories and segments in all regions. And if you want to see how the sales are doing in both the categories and segments for each specific region, we'll just go to the filter area, select multiple items to enable us select our region of interest, then click OK. This is the performance in the central region, and when we look at the eastern region, we can see how dynamic the chart is, and we can easily tell in the eastern region that technology is doing better in all segments. Looking at all the regions, it is obvious that the consumer segment performed better than the home office and the corporate segment, while the technology category performed better in all the three segments. With the chart element, which is this cross-like icon beside the chart, we can do some formatting to the chart. Let's put an axis title. Click on axis title, and it provides option for you to edit. So let's change this vertical axis to sales and change the horizontal one to segments. We can go back to the chart element and select chart title. So let's call this sales by category and segment. So we can move this to the center. Another way to get the chart element is to click on the Design tab and you click on Add Chart Element. Then you can select whatever element you would want to appear on your chart. But I still prefer to use the cross-like icon just beside the chart to access my chart element. So take our time to explore all the options, as this will enable you format your chart. If you don't want the axis field button to appear on your chart, you right click on the field button and select Hide Axis Field Buttons on Chart to take it off. Or if you want to hide all the field buttons on your chart, you select Hide All Field Buttons on Chart. To return the hidden field button, you go to the Analyze tab and click on Field Button to bring it back. While to return the Axis Field Button, you go back to the Field Button ribbon, click on Show Axis Field Button, then it returns. Another way to hide all the field buttons is to click on the Field Buttons ribbon and select Hide All. So let us take out the regions from the filter area and take out the category from the legend and put them both in a slicer. So I'll just go to the Analyze tab and click on Insert Slicer, select both fields and click OK. We can adjust and put them in a better position. If you look closely, you can see that there are some items still showing on my slicer that are no longer existing in my data. You can see how faint they are compared to other items. So what we will do is to take them off by going to the slicer settings in my slicer options and uncheck this box, show items deleted from data source. Click OK and it goes off. And if you don't want to go through the slicer options, you can just right click on the slicer. In the slicer settings, you uncheck the box, click OK. So I will drag and adjust to fit. Then I'll take off this total legend on the chart. Let me change this title to be just sales by segment. Now you can click on any area of the slicer to see how your chart responds. Hold down the Control key to select more than one item. Click here to clear the filter. Now let's insert another pivot chart. I would copy the previous table as a guide to creating the other pivot chart. Just copy and paste the pivot table. Click on the Insert tab, then go to Pivot Chart and click on that. This time let's select the line chart and click OK. I'll take out the segment and bring in the date. So this date is currently on a daily basis. I'll just go and group it to be on a monthly basis. I already showed how to group dates in my video on pivot table. Please make sure you watch that video. Now let's see our trend of sales by month with respect to regions. I'll bring in my region as a slicer. I'll also bring in my date as a timeline. I'll change this month to years, adjust to fit. I will also increase the width of my slicer so it can fit in better. I want to remove the field buttons. I'll take out the legend and also take out the grid lines. Let me change the color of the chart line to this color. I will also change this chart title to Trend of Sales by Month. With this, we can see the performance of sales in different regions and in different years. What it is in 2020 is different from what it is in 2021. So these are several ways you can look at your charts. Let's try inserting another chart. So let's copy this table and paste. Then we can go to the Insert tab and select our pivot chart. This time around, let us select the pie chart and click OK. I'll take out the sales from the values area and bring in customer name. Please note that the values area is not restricted to sales value alone, but for data you want to be represented in numerical values. For me, I would want to find out the number of customers by category, so I will be leaving it as count of customers. Then take out the segment and bring in category in the axis area to give me what I want. With this, I can see the number of customers I have in each category. I would like to put a data label to this chart, so I can choose to put it anywhere I want. Maybe the center. I'll go with this option. Let's call this number of customers by category. Go to the Analyze tab and click on Field Buttons. Select Hide All to hide all the field buttons. Then we can adjust our title to fit into the center. You can adjust your chart to fit in to your taste. Let's reduce the size of this pie chart. Let's take out the legend and make this bold. We can also change the title on the table to be number of customers. I'll move this table to create space. This time let's insert state as a slicer. Now you can choose to select a specific state for your analysis, or you hold down the Control key to select multiple states. So these are the charts we've created so far. What I want to do now is to make all the charts visible without the pivot tables showing. We literally wouldn't need the pivot tables either ways because we have the slicers to interact with the chart. So what I will do is to hide the pivot tables. This can be done in several ways. First of all, highlight your pivot tables, right click and select hide. Or after highlighting, you use Ctrl 0 to hide. You can also choose to group the column instead. After highlighting, you use the Shift Alt right arrow key. You press down the Shift key and the Alt key and the right arrow key to group. Then just click on this button to hide, and you can click on the plus button to unhide. In case you want to freeze your panes for ease of reference, the shortcut key to freeze your panes is Alt WFF, and you can also use the same Alt WFF to unfreeze. Notice that there are two numbers underneath the name box. These numbers are used to control the hidden columns which were grouped together. So you press number 2 to unhide them and number 1 to hide them. To ungroup the columns, you can go to the Data tab. In the outline group, you select Ungroup. First, highlight the columns you want to ungroup and select Ungroup. Or you can also use the Shift key and the Alt key, then left arrow key to ungroup. Now you can see that without the pivot tables, all you need to do is to use your slicers to interact with your chart and you're good to go. We can make the charts look a bit more presentable by changing the colors. Just go to the Design tab and select any color of your choice. We can also use the colors icon. I'll go with this color and apply color to all the other charts as well. This is what our chart looks like now. Let's also make the slicers have matching colors with its respective charts. When you click on the slicer to bring out the slicer options, then you can select any color of your choice. We will do the same for all slicers, and this looks a bit more presentable. So we'll be stopping here for today. I hope you enjoyed this session just like I did. If you have any question, please drop it in the comment section and I would answer all of them. If you need access to this template, I'll be dropping it in the description box so you can access it to practice along while watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in other videos.